welcome to another edition of the Bullheaded Podcast. I'm your host, per usual, Sean Tyson, here with Zoo and P. Bush. How are you guys doing?
Doing well, man. Tuning in from Chattanooga, Tennessee. If we got any viewers in Tennessee, man, happy to be on East Coast time with my boys. Usually on Central, man. So I'm on that 8:15 start bandwagon with y'all. Little too late for my liking, but whatever you guys like, man.
Stop it, man. You've been spoiled too much, man. Staying up to
Mm.
12:30 to 1 a.m. for these NBA games. I am so happy these NBA Finals games are at a normal start time of 8 o'clock to 8:30 p.m., man. You can go to bed at a regular time on a weekday. So I'm blessed with that, but I was not really happy about last game, man. I was pretty pissed off by watching that game, man. It hurt my eyes a little, but blessed by the schedule, the Eastern time zone schedule.
Yeah, man. I was a stickler in the first couple of rounds with the whole thing with I think it's like 10:30, 10 o'clock, West Coast time. Usually in all full disclosure, I just fell asleep and watched the highlights in the morning.
Of course.
But with this schedule, I'm down for it. And I think a lot of people watching game 2 was pretty surprised with the Heat's performance and their whole embodiment. I can't even say that word of the team. So I wanted to ask the guys their, analysis of the first 2 games. And P. Bush, I'm gonna start with you.
Man, this is beautiful, man. I mean, y'all know if you've been tuning into the podcast, or especially these two guys right here, they know I've been on the Heat bandwagon since the bubble. Got a lot of hate for it over the years, man. But I think I'm going to preface this, man. I think the Nuggets are obviously the better team. I think that's unspoken on a talent basis. But coaching, you can't hate on Mike Malone, man. I think a lot of people were giving him a bit of flack, undeservedly, in my opinion, for not calling a timeout at the end of game 2, man.
I like the play.
I don't like that because Eric Spoelstra is a keen defensive coach, man. He knows exactly what he would need to do, and if you give him time to set up a play to defend a Jamal Murray 3 that he actually had a pretty decent look at for a solid contest from Jimmy Butler. I mean, I'd say about 35% of the time he hits that shot, and he just didn't hit it at the end. Obviously, he was going for the tie, the heater down. In that situation, you don't want to be up 2, right? And they're taking that dagger 3, kind of going for the jugular to go up 2-0 at home. And I thought that Jimmy Butler, he has had a semi-rough first 2 games of the finals. I think there's some reports out there that his dad's doing not so hot when it comes to health. Maybe that's sitting on his mind, rightfully so. Bam Adebayo responding after that Eastern Conference Finals performance, man, that we focused a lot on the past couple weeks. He was struggling. Zoo, I know you and I had many discussions while we were in NYC together, man. Brutal in the paint. And then he goes 13 for 25 in game 1 and has a nice, I think, 21 points in game 2. Shout out Gabe Vincent. Shooters shoot, man. Shooters shoot, putting up 23, leading the Heat in game 2. Really being the deciding factor with a nice, and I think Duncan Robinson's 10-point run that the Heat had, I think it was in the fourth quarter, man, where he hit 2 huge threes. He had that nice pump fake. And then, dude, he just hit that. He pulled up for that 3 right in your face. And when a shooter's hitting that type of shot, a guy that is usually a spot-up shooter and not somebody who's just going to, he's challenged him. And then he runs that off that beautiful screen. And it was on the left side of the floor, and it slips down. And he has so much attraction after hitting those first 2 threes that Gabe Vincent, they both travel with Duncan. Gabe Vincent's wide open. I forget who it was on Denver, just reacts late, probably thinking of an oh shit moment, tries to close out on Gabe, hits a huge 3. They run the same play the next one down, and Duncan's wide open for the
wide open layup.
They don't want to give up the Gabe Vincent 3 and 1. I mean, that alone right there, I'm not saying that's all Spoelstra, but he knows exactly how to use the players and what their strengths are, especially in the current moment, right? He's calling out that play. Hell, it could have been a point guard call too. It could have been a Jimmy Butler being like, hey, let's run this. But you got to follow the hot hand, and Eric Spoelstra trusts his players entirely. And I think that that's, a testament to how good of a coach he is. If he pulls off this finals, I think you could consider him to be a top 5 coach of all time. It might be an aggressive statement. I don't give a damn. This guy has done everything with nothing. And that's not putting down any of these players on the Miami Heat, because they are in the NBA for a reason. But these guys should not be hitting some of these shots, putting up 23 a game like Gabe Vincent. Nobody would have ever predicted that. So a lot of these guys, if they've earned their money, like Duncan Robinson, Bam Adebayo, obviously starting to earn his money in these playoffs. Gabe Vincent, Caleb Martin, obviously coming off an ailment, entering game 2. I thought that was actually, I want to get your guys' opinion on this, but I thought that was an interesting change. Obviously, he played limited minutes. I think he was around the Duncan Robinson 20 minutes per game mark, a little bit lower than he had been playing throughout these playoffs. But man, I mean, the Kevin Love starting role, I mean, he put up 10 boards. I thought that was huge because they got out-rebounded in game 1. They come in, and I know I mentioned this last week, but there were a couple things they had to do. They had to be aggressive on the boards, and they had to make Jokic be the primary scorer. I mean, the man took 28 shots in game 2. Jokic put up 41, but he had 4 assists. 4 assists. And he didn't allow his other players. If you compare game 1 to game 2, I'm pretty sure that Jokic took 12 shots in game 1. Their other big 3, including Aaron Gordon and MPJ, Jamal Murray, they took 48 shots in game 1. They only took 30 shots in game 2, right? So if you're forcing Jokic to kind of be the primary scorer, every time he has scored heavily in these playoffs, the Nuggets have lost. And I think that's a testament to how this Denver Nuggets team thrives, is when Jokic is kind of all right, let me pull a Jimmy Butler and just be there in the fourth quarter to be there for scoring, but I'm going to facilitate the rest of the game and get everybody else going. That didn't happen in game 2. And I don't know, maybe that's a recipe for the Heat, but I know the Nuggets will adjust. I'm expecting them to come back and win game 3 in Miami.
Yeah. Those. Ooh, Jesus, man.
Choked up.
Jesus, man. Choked up there, man. Spoelstra got me choked up about the Nuggets, man. First of all, Spoelstra's adjustment, man. Kevin Love was huge, man. Yeah. After game 1, they saw Aaron Gordon exploit the pick and rolls. He got his butt in the post post up. He got like 12 straight points in the first quarter in that game. So obviously, you put another big in Kevin Love. Aaron Gordon did not attempt to post up on Kevin Love because Kevin Love is a big dude. He might not be that tall, but that's a thick dude, man. 6'7", 6'8", man, 250, 260. He's a chunky dude, man. You ain't posting up that dude. So adjustment number 1, and he can shoot threes too. So even on defense, you usually think Kevin Love is a liability, but he's a nice, take the charge guy.
He's a body.
Positional defender, man. He's a very high IQ guy. He got his nice outlet passes to start this fast break. So Kevin Love inserted to the starting lineup was a beautiful move by Spoelstra to counter Aaron Gordon. And Aaron Gordon was useless in that game. After a great game 1, I love Aaron Gordon on defense, but offensively, he's a very limited player. He's a cutter. He's a dunker. He's an energy guy because he ain't a shooter, man. Because I'm going to give him 3-point shots all day. I'm going to give him mid-range shots all day. And legit, he got exposed. He just was not as impactful as game 1 with that Kevin Love adjustment. And I think that was a pretty obvious one because Caleb Martin, that dude's a 6'5", 6'6" wing guy. He's a skinny-looking dude, too, so he's not the most bulky guy. So that adjustment by Spoelstra was key to that. And my goodness, Michael Porter Jr., man, that was an accident waiting to happen, man. He was atrocious. First of all, I don't know why MPJ forgot how to shoot 3-point shots. He's getting some decent, pretty good looks. He's just missing them, first of all. Second of all, he's forcing some shots too. So obviously when you're missing some threes, you might be overthinking on offense. I remember this one play, man. Michael Porter mid-range was shooting a contested jump shot. He had 2 guys in the paint. I think it was Jokic and Jamal Murray were wide open in the paint. Missed them. Just missed them, man. He had a wide open layup for one of his boys. He missed him, took a contested jump shot, and he bricked it. If he made the shot, okay, whatever. He bricked the shot, man. So MPJ and his defense and KCP, disastrous. Max Strus in the first quarter, that was atrocious defense, man. I was like watching my Chicago Bulls rotation on defense. They would set a screen, guard on guard screen, and they would rotate to one dude and leave Max Strus wide open. No, you switch because Max Strus ain't gonna dribble by you. He ain't gonna be posting up on you. He's a shooter, man. When you get guard on guard, you switch it, and Max Strus got so many open threes. And set up pretty much the game from that because I was like, that's just bad rotation. That is unacceptable rotation. And you're talking guys like KCP, who's supposed to be a 3-and-D guy. That guy was a 3-and-disaster guy last night. The dude he fouled 2 3-point shooters.
Yep.
That was awful. You can't do that.
It's a guaranteed 3 points.
Dude, you can't do that. KCP, I thought he was from Clutch Sports, Championship DNA, Los Angeles Lakers, 3-and-D guy. That was atrocious. KCP was so awful. He shot 1 for 4 from the field, only hit 1 3.
How many
My
fouls did
goodness.
he commit to?
He had 6 personal fouls. He fouled
He
out,
did
man.
foul. Yeah, you're right. He did.
He was a disaster. Like, he was atrocious. Like, Porter Jr. and KCP combined for 11 points. That ain't going to work. That ain't going to work.
They pretty much did what Strus, Robinson, and Seamark
Yeah.
combined for in game one.
Game one.
They were 2 of 23.
Yeah, it was all about the role players. Like, you mentioned Jokic having to score more.
Is it, Zoo? Is it, Zoo? It's not just about the stars all the time, is it?
No, the others matter.
I love how that comes full circle.
Oh, of course they matter, but know they're going to get theirs.
Yeah, no. You know why they're called others? Because they're hit or miss, man. You can't count on them every game. Well, you got the consistent guys like Yoke dropping a 41, 11, and 4. Obviously, you mentioned the 4 assists. The 4 assists is because his boys didn't make threes. They make jump shots. A lot of missed shots that potential Jokic assists. And Jokic was like, okay, I got to get mine because my teammates clearly have not showed up. Even his sidekick, Jamal Murray, had an off shooting game, even though he heated up in the fourth quarter. The first couple quarters, man, he was pretty bad. Yep. He missed a couple of shots that he usually makes. Like Jamal Murray, 18 points. I'm going to need more of that. I need more of the 25 to 30 range. That's what we've been averaging all playoffs against this Heat team because your boy Gabe Vincent, man, that guy could really shoot them. He's a free agent this year. He's going to get at least $10 million a year.
Bulls.
His first paycheck, his first big, yeah.
That's all I'm
not
saying.
gonna lie, I'll take him. I'll take a shooter, man, because he can play defense.
He's a better Kobe White, man.
Dude. Oh, no, yeah, he loves shooting. That dude, every time he gets the ball, I know that brother's gonna shoot. If he gets a decent look, man. He got the greenest light ever, man.
But I trust it.
He got ultimate confidence, man, and his ability to shoot the basketball has been huge. Obviously, I still remember that big 3 against the Milwaukee Bucks in the first round. That 3, you got to remember that 3. Was right before the Jimmy tie tip-in, man. So, boom, he showed up. And Bam Adebayo, man, you know what he figured out? Stop posting him, but face-up game, man.
Yep.
Face-up, because every time we saw Bam Adebayo in his post-up game, he's ass, man. He's so bad. I feel like he gave him a post on me. He's just missing little bunnies on everyone, man. But when he does his face-up game, he's a lot better. He gets the little mid-range. He does a little passing. His driving, he's that nice dong. He's an elite athlete. Bam is a face-up guy. And I don't know why Spoelstra posted him up all those times in the first game. And even second game, I saw a couple post-ups. Like, all those times he just misses shots. And, like, they know that stat about his points per post-up possession, man, is trash. It is absolute trash. So you got to use Bam as more of a point center, so similar to Jokic. He's diming out there. He's D'ing up. Face-up game, and he got 20 points again. So Bam Adebayo is having a really good NBA Finals series, and less post-ups, more face-ups, because I still like the ball in Bam's hands as a playmaker, man. No more post-ups for Bam if I'm Spoelstra. No more. But, man, I was very impressed with the Miami Heat last game because I definitely thought that the Nuggets were winning because they've been undefeated at home this year in the NBA playoffs. So, was Miami going to break that? I didn't think so. The spread was 8.5. One of the biggest finals upset spreads in NBA history. So
that's what the Heat do.
That's what they do, man. That's what they do, man. That's what they do, man. They have shocked the world, especially against the Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics. The Knicks is like, I can see them being the Knicks, but the frauds, man. But beating the Bucks and the Celtics, that is a road to the finals. And like you said, they beat this Nuggets team. This is the first time in NBA history, a Cinderella story. What happened? That cute storm, man. For the first time in NBA history, that cute story is going to have that beautiful ball at the end of the end of the rainbow, man. Because that will be special. This is an 8th seed that was 3 minutes away of missing the NBA playoffs.
Entire playoffs.
I'm sorry.
Like NBA playoffs? Come on.
No, you're right. I mean, the Bulls had them on the ropes, man, and then they just come back and was like,
they lost because of Max Strus turned to Ray Allen. Like, it happens.
Facts. But I mean, that's honestly what's won them games, and I think it's testament to just how reliant they are on the 3-point shot, though. But at the same time, they hit a lot of threes, even if they aren't like what was Max Strus in game 1, 0 for 9.
Yeah, he was trash.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they still hit more threes than the entire Nuggets team. Now I know they lost the game in game 1, but all they had to do was hit a couple more shots on the interior, make sure all their guys were getting going. And they made it a game in game 2. I mean, I didn't expect them to win. I did bet them money line, but that was kind of a hopeful, kind of making it a series.
Yeah, you got the plus 200 plus, man. Plus 260
plus 290, man. Come on, dude. But, at the same time, I'm looking at this team and I'm like, I'm curious to see if Spoelstra, even with Caleb Martin, getting healthier, quote unquote, right, from his illness. Tyler Hero, we're still a bit unsure on that front. I think he would come off the bench just because
for sure.
This man hasn't played in pretty much 2 months. You don't want to just put all that
Put him
on
in the
him.
NBA Finals. Woo.
Exactly. But do you start Kevin Love again next game?
Oh yeah.
I think you have
to. And neutralize Aaron Gordon.
They're better as a bigger team. Yeah,
Exactly.
they're better
They
when they're a
shift
bigger
Jimmy
team.
onto Jamal Murray, which is the better matchup, and that was a huge factor slowing him down and like get him like
tougher shots.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Jimmy
so
Butler.
I mean, go ahead, Sean.
I was just about to make the point about Jimmy Butler with Jamal Murray. I think that was probably one of the underrated, and people didn't talk about it much because they probably just thought Jamal Murray was missing and his shot wasn't going in and stuff like that. I mean, he shot like 7-15, so it wasn't like he shot bad, but he just took too long to get going. But if I'm Eric, I do leave Kevin Love in that. I guess maybe the 4-man, maybe the 3-man, whatever, because then it puts onus on Aaron Gordon to like, okay, you got kind of a perceived mismatch. You should go to work. But, to your point, Zoo, Aaron Gordon's not really a shooter. He's not hitting mid-ranges. He can get to the rim. But, I mean, if you're Kevin Love, I'm just sagging off. And if Aaron Gordon goes 4 for 5 at the 3-point line, then Denver's meant to win the championship. They're
live with that.
But, I mean, Aaron Gordon going downhill and, trying to make moves around Kevin Love, I don't know if that's a matchup that Denver wants. Plus, two, it takes Murray out of his rhythm with, his, making his mid-range shots and doing things like that. But, to P. Bush's point, got to give him credit, man. He talked about Jokic being a scorer. Him getting that 41 when I was watching the game, I kind of actually thought, like, Jokic is going to kind of bring this home because Jamal didn't really have it early. The other guys were kind of hit or miss, but Jokic was just getting whatever he wanted under the basket. And I was thinking, like, even though, like, Miami was still kind of keeping the league, Denver was just inching back. I'm like, they're going to eventually get there. And Jokic, like, getting that 41, I think the best thing about that is Jokic is kind of a player where I already know that he's going to get his points, but you really don't understand until, like, he's an actual, like, as a facilitator, how great he is as a facilitator. And in game 2, just watching him, like, I think this is weird to say, but I think Denver they're more beatable when Jokic is going off.
Exactly.
Like,
because
they're way more beatable. Yeah.
I also think because he mainly scores, like, I would say 90% of the time. I don't know how many threes he hit or took in game 2. I was flying out to Tennessee, but I checked the box score. But it's twos, right? And this Miami team is going to win on threes, which means that every possession, and especially, I think they hit like 40+% of their threes in game 2, the Miami Heat.
49.
There you go. If you're hitting 49 to nearly 50% of your threes and you're fine giving up one, that means you're getting a point increment almost every single possession. Not saying that they just jack threes and that's all that they take, because we know what Jimmy and Bam can do on the mid-range and interior game, right? But it's a differential that they're willing to live with as the underdog, and with Jokic knowing that he can attack Bam at 6'9", Zoo, Bam Adebayo, maybe
6'9".
Jokic can take that all day, and they'll be fine living with him getting his. If you're only allowing Jamal Murray to take 15 shots, because if he takes 15 shots, this brother needs at least 20. I would say 20 to 22 shots a game to really get going. Because the way that the Nuggets win is Jokic is scoring in the interior, therefore you have to drive with him, kicks it out to MPJ, Bruce Brown, KCP. Obviously Jamal Murray, and they're going to hit threes. Hell, even Aaron Gordon, I know you just talked about Zoo, but he did hit a big 3 to kind of keep them in the game there in the fourth quarter towards the end. But, that's where they're at their best, man. And if you can realize that they're having off-shooting games on the Denver side, fine, Jokic. You feel like no one else is hitting shots?
The crazy part is, like, even with MPJ and KCP no-showing, the Denver it's shot 39% from 3.
Yeah.
39%.
How many did they take, Zoo?
28, 11 for 28. So they offensively, statistic-wise, they were pretty good. It was just Miami was 17 for 35, which is actually absurd. Because if you look at overall field goal percentage, the Nuggets shot 52%. The Miami Heat shot 49%. So the differential was the 3-point shot. Because free throws is like net was within 2 free throws. So it was pretty much just a 3-point shot. That was the differential in the game.
Comparatively, in game 1, I think the Nuggets shot 20 free throws to the Heat's 2.
Yeah.
So that that's the difference in that game too, right? So it's aggressiveness right? And honestly, the difference in fouls in game 1 on the Miami Heat side versus the dumb fouls that the Denver Nuggets had
KCP.
in game 2, it's just discipline, hitting big shots, and forcing, certain guys to beat you. And I think that's what these coaches are just kind of battling at in a damn near chess game. So it's been fun to
Plus,
watch.
too, I didn't like Malone like in game 2, like talking about our energy was a little bit lackluster.
I don't think that was it.
I don't understand that logic when it's the NBA Finals. Like, you guys just didn't play a great game. Like, no, I don't think that when I watched the full game. Denver looked like they were trying hard. Like, you mean Jokic going for 41? He didn't have the energy. The guy started.
No,
they just missed shots. They just missed shots.
Yeah, it was missed shots and it was execution. Like, their mindset was just like they just didn't execute. They were like fully focused.
They went cruise mode.
Yeah, exactly. It was focus. It was not trying an effort. It was
the Celtics, in my opinion. It was a little reminiscent of the Celtics and what we've seen in the playoffs.
Yeah, because
you were up 15. They were up 15 points.
You go in the fourth quarter up with a double-digit lead. Jimmy Butler's out. Jokic is out. So both the stars are out. So bench versus bench. And Duncan Robinson just went off.
A-wire.
Just went off, man. And I think another thing. Yeah, I give you that. Miami Heat, I think they got a slightly more depth. Not saying much because Denver Nuggets have they have 2 dudes on the bench. Like Christian Braun, that guy can give you some 5 to 10 minutes, but he's barely an NBA player right now. He's a rookie. But this is what Spoelstra has to do. He has to stop playing on Cody Zeller.
Yes.
RIU alum boy.
I think that's just
he is awful.
He
is so bad.
Who are you gonna put in? Udonis?
I'd rather play Udonis Haslem than Cody Zeller.
We go. All right, I'm not gonna let you do that. Come on, Zoo.
No, Cody Zeller.
Zoo, come on, man.
Cody Zeller in 8 minutes had a plus-minus of -14.
Did you just say that though?
But he's just there for fouls. I don't think he's there to be impactful, bro. And he's made a couple of layups in the series. So I mean, he's not. He's what he is.
He's one of the worst basketball players I've ever seen. I swear to God, man. If the Miami Heat had a backup big that was usable, that might be the difference in the NBA Finals right now. Because I don't know about that. He's pretty bad too. But Cody Zeller should not be getting minutes in the NBA Finals under any circumstances, man. And under any circumstances, dude, what you couldn't make the Charlotte Hornets right now, man. Like, he is awful. He is awful, and him getting minutes is very disrespectful, man. Because I don't want to see him on my television.
They just don't have any other options, bro.
Dude, I know, which is really bad. They couldn't find any other big, man.
They could have got a buyout guy or something.
When they're paying Kyle Lowry $30 million.
I know. They got Kyle Lowry's fat ass getting 24 minutes a game on a plus-minus of -15. -15. He was a -15 in 24 minutes, man. Obviously, because Gabe Vincent was balling and Kyle Lowry came in that was not balling at all. So they spent $30 million of their cap space on Kyle Lowry. Could have used that money to get a backup center for a Bam Adebayo. Oh my goodness,
he did.
And he was in that pick and roll game with Bam, setting Bam up. Like, you saw Bam after he made that and-1 dunk, was that Kyle Lowry was like, great pass. Like, Kyle Lowry made he's not giving you 15, but he's giving you key plays.
Man. His assist to turnover ratio is 1, man. So every nice dime he has 1 to Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, but usually when he gets those other turnovers, it's usually because he's just being an idiot and running around causing chaos. I think it's effort turnovers. I don't think it's like he's just a bad player. But I just thought of this. I just thought of this so we're talking about Aaron Gordon, and if Kevin Love does, still stay in the starting lineup, I know you still probably start Aaron Gordon, but do you maybe trend towards playing Bruce Brown more because he's a capable 3-point shooter and could get to the rim a little bit, finish around.
They're very similar players, even though they look physically very different. But their play style is being like a rim runner, big. I call Brown a big because that's how he plays. And his shot is better than Aaron Gordon. Yeah. So then they might have to. They call him like the sixth starter. That's what Malone calls him. So yeah, man, they might have to rely on him more if Aaron Gordon.
Don't start him, but
no. Keep the starting line. Starting out is still fine, but maybe a little more Brown minutes because they got to expose some of these matchups right now because they're getting away with Kevin Love, just camping in the paint right now because Aaron Gordon can't do much outside of being a paint scorer. But remember when I said
I do. And the other guy for Denver, MPJ, part of his issue, not maybe in this playoffs, but in past, years, has always been his up and down, his unpredictability, and part of that's because he's been hurt. But I think he's going to be the biggest X factor because even still with Jamal Murray, and this is, Jimmy Butler could still put straps on him, and he could be, not a factor in the rest of the series. But I think MPJ is going to have to really step up and at least be a factor on the boards because he's 6'10" and making his 3-point shots. Because I do think even if, let's just say Jamal gets back to like 22, 23, 24 points, whatever. I still think because Miami, in terms of their depth, they're going to just have just moments where, Gabe may not have a next game, but Cody Martin may go off. Tyler, Zeller or whatever his name is, he's not going to go off. But it could be a guy like Bam still consistently giving us another 20 points. Jimmy could come out of his slumber because quiet as kept. Jimmy didn't have the greatest game, but he still finished with about 21 points. But Jimmy could have a legendary Jimmy game. Mm-hmm. I do think for Denver, the MPJ piece is going to be critical because if he still stays around in that 10, 12-point range, or like he said in the last game, he had like 5 points, I do think there's a chance that Miami could beat them. Plus, too, I think I'm banking on Miami's home court coming up. I know Denver has the altitude, but I think it's going to be – I know it's a later arriving crowd in the NBA Finals, but I just – watching it on TV, and maybe it just looks different on TV, like that whiteout, and when they get going, it looks very reminiscent to when LeBron and Dwayne Wade was playing back there, like when it's just the towels going crazy. It looks nice on TV when they get going. So I am interested to see how MPJ bounces back. And how Miami still utilizes Bam with, going downhill, facing up. Because I know they always talk about he's a big guy. And to Zoo's point, he's not a back-to-the-basket type of player. He still needs to develop that. Maybe he needs to go visit Olajuwon in Houston for a couple of lessons. But, Bam showing up in this series, man, is, I would say it's a surprise because he is a great player, but he's got a chance if he continues to
win Finals MVP. If he wins,
he could win Finals MVP. He could because Butler would have to go in the 30s the next 2 games for the conversation to be around Butler making the MVP because we all know that Caleb Martin should have got the Eastern Conference, Finals trophy or whatever last series. But
one vote.
Yeah, he missed it by 1 vote, and I'm very curious to wonder who that 1 vote was. But
probably Stephen A.
I think Bam is going to have a really good shot to win it. And
definitely this series because he's been offensively very aggressive, which is something that sometimes in the playoffs you see.
He's so athletic, bro. And he's kind of got he is to your point about him being a point forward, there were times in game 2, and he's probably done this throughout the playoffs. I just never noticed it as much, but he can, when the ball gets taken out, he can take it up the court and get it up the court. And pressure being on him, he can he ain't going through his legs and crossing people up, but he can get through and handle pressure. He's like a really, really versatile big just on that aspect. So I think if they continue to do that, and Duncan Robinson has his little spurts, who knows, man? Because it would be just hypothetically thinking, say Miami wins this next game and it's 2-2, then what if? I mean, this is a big what if, but what if Hero comes back for the game 5 and you have a whole different wrinkle thrown in? Now that would be a tough game to come into because you're looking at Game 5 in Denver. You haven't played in a couple of months. It would take a heroic effort for him to probably give a great performance. But it's just something to think about because, man, Miami's just this whole squad is just very mentally tough. It comes from Eric Spoelstra, and it's just like I said. I don't think there's just this Miami's they're just here. They're happy. Dang, they're playing like they're supposed to be they're not supposed to be there. And I think we were talking about it earlier. Not only are they an 8 seed, they might be, if they pull this off, they might be the only play-in team to win a championship. Because I don't know if that'll be done again. Because that's the odds of that. Now a lot of things had to happen along that way, but just the odds of that happening again, I don't think that would happen again for a very long time.
Oh, trust me.
Because usually the play-in teams that comes in, it happens. Yeah, it's just Heat coach, and I posted on the Bullheaded page about Miami Heat in general, and I was saying, full disclosure, I've been very guilty of this, of just their position among the NBA. I've never given them the Heat are just a perennial. I talk about the blue bloods of the NBA. We talk about Lakers, Celtics, whoever, Bulls. It's bro, the Heat are perennial blue blood. Like because Jordan Taylor went on this dude Kev Bootleg. He has a pretty cool podcast because he interviews all kind of different spectrums of like rap, music, and sports. And she was talking about like since 2012, like they've been to the same amount of finals as the Golden State Warriors. And it was like, oh, well, like when you put it that way, that's pretty interesting. And then it's like we break it down through the East, like they've gone toe to toe with Boston. Like they beat Boston 2 out of the last, I think, 3 or 4 times. And I think it's just because they haven't won it since LeBron's been there. But it's like they're a consistent franchise to where like now I'm thinking to myself, like when it comes to any conversation about the Eastern Conference, it should start with Miami. Like respect to Boston, respect to Philly, respect to whoever else is like a building team. But it should always be about Miami because it's like they're not the greatest in the regular season. But when they get to the playoffs, they're pretty much easy. Like they're like a clear favorite. They should be a clear favorite. We should just give them, at least for me, I need to start giving them more respect. Because when you break it down to like they've been to, now I know LeBron was there for that little final stuff when they were, running around with Dwayne Wade, but it's like still, even post LeBron, they've been a pretty consistent team. And they're doing it with just Jimmy. So it's like if they even mess around and get another free agent, like, I don't know. It speaks to their culture. I just want to say that,
man. It's definitely their culture, man. It's their defense, man. And one thing that has shocked me, if you look at their regular season, man, they had a negative point differential, man.
Yeah.
So they were a below average team in the regular season, and they're tied 1-1 against the Denver Nuggets, man. It is an incredible story. This is definitely an incredible story that I don't think we'll ever see again because we won't. This is actually historic what they're doing. And let's see if they pull the Celtics, blow history, or let's see if they make history, man. Because on their other side,
give them a little bit more slack, Zoo. Come on. They are an 8 seed, not a what?
To me, they're a play-in team. They're not even an 8. They're just a play-in team. Like they got beat by the Atlanta Hawks. The Bulls and the Bulls were beating them. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Now that you put it down to that, I don't even want to put that. I was about to say something, but I don't even want to put that thought in there because we got 2 Bulls fans. Like I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
Don't put me down when I'm already down there.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. But finals talk has been great. We're going to continue to do that for the next couple of weeks. I wanted to remind the people who are watching the podcast, NBA draft is coming up. We will be talking about that, putting stuff up. Going to start maybe doing some player comps and some player profiles on the Instagram page and maybe on TikTok. Everybody knows about Victor Wembanyama, but there's other guys in the draft that are going to get drafted really high, and a lot of teams are going to be excited to get. So make sure you tune into Bullheaded_pod. Make sure you tune into Quantrill Knows on YouTube. Make sure you also listen to us on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Give us a 5-star review. And for me, Zoo, and P. Bush, we are out.